All right. So before we start, do you guys have any question on Appian variables that we were, we discussed yesterday? Anything?
Not from my side.
Okay. All right. And no, everyone has no issues, right? Let's get started. So we discussed that. So we will start with the application creation from today onwards. Okay. So what we discussed is that we'll go with the customer onboarding process, right? So we can create an application for the customer onboarding, and then yeah, we can start creating the objects. All right. So let me just check. Do we have any application created with the same name already? Otherwise, we have to think. Okay, customer onboarding process is there. All right. We can go with the customer onboarding application. All right. So, I mean, we cannot have the same name, right, for two applications, right? So that's why I was just checking. So we go to the create new application, and then we give the name. Let's say I'm going to say customer onboarding application. Now see that, right? We are seeing customer onboarding application, and it is taking the prefix COA, which will be used to be as a prefix of every object name that we will be creating, right? And then the description you can say this application is about onboarding.
As part of this course, are you going to create two application or only one application?
One application will throughout the end of the training.
Okay. In that case, can we work on this something around complaint management, like ITSM tools or something like this?
So can you please
Like
explain what
creating,
we talk?
it's something around like when we request for new software or new hardware installation, like ITSM tool, a ticket gets created to some people. They used to work on this tool and they ask for certain information like what software, what version, what is the cost associated with this, and then based upon some approval, this get resolved. So similar to a workflow only, but not customer onboarding. This is a very generic use case. That's the reason I'm saying if we want.
Okay, everyone is okay with that? What do you guys think? Yeah.
Can we do two applications? Is it possible? It's too much, right? Building two applications.
All right, building two applications. See what we can do. You can go with one application, and you guys can also try with your own application, right? So what will happen in that case? You can end up with one that we are doing into the training and one that you are practicing. So it will have two. If you go with the two, that will be too much, right? I mean, same thing we have to repeat because concept-wise it can be different. But think about the coding perspective, right? We have to design the reports. Everything will be same, isn't it? There's no meaning of having two applications. If you want to practice with a different perspective, you can create your application, right? And then if you have any doubt, you can ask me, right? So which one you want to go with finally, guys? Customer onboarding application or the customer support tool?
Complaint management system or something.
Okay,
Service request. Service request system.
Which one is more complicated though?
See, complicated. We need to cover all the topics, right? And both are the workflows thing. All required approvals, all required reports to be generated, right? So both are almost same. With just the concept-wise, this is different.
Okay.
Okay, let's go with the complaint.
Thank you.
Complaint. What do you say?
Management. Complaint management system.
Right. Says CML. Okay, fine. So.
New software or hardware?
Yeah. Okay, so as we have talked about, right, what's the meaning of this checkbox? It will just create those 7 objects for your easiness, where you don't have to go and create those objects, where we can keep all our rules and then process models and then documents, right? It just create everything. So it has taken the prefix CMS of the first letter of each word here. So that's a prefix and it is available. So that's why it's not showing any of the messages. If we try to use any other prefix, then it will start giving that this prefix is already in use. All right, so I'll just say create.
Now, you check the generate groups and folders, right? That should be checked
Right,
right after this.
right. If you check, you will get those 7 objects created for you. You don't have to create it manually. Right. So once we do that, your application will be get created. If you go back from this button, you will be able to see this customer management application has been created. Now, if you go inside this application, and then this is the overview of your application, like any important objects like site and portals, it will listed here. You can also click on the plus new icon and start building. Otherwise, you can go to the build option, and in the build option, you can see these 7 objects that is being created for you because we have checked that checkbox. What other objects it has? It has the rule folders, knowledge center, document folders, process model folders, and 2 groups. Groups are used to define the security of your application, like who will have the admin access and who will have the user access, right? Usually we put this administrator access as an admin role and user access as a viewer role. Okay, we'll talk about more what the permission label is required for what thing, but now this is what we have created. Okay, so complaint management system. If you're thinking about this application, think about the requirement perspective. How a requirement can come to you when because this is a fresh development, right? So we are going to start a fresh development. So how come a requirement can start? You can start in any application development, not in Appian. If you talk about Java development or C or Python, anything, what is the first most thing is that need to be designed? What do you guys think?
Data.
Hello world.
That's a hello world is, I like, you print the first thing that hello world in the Java and all, right? The most important thing of your application is that where you keep your data, right? The data structure should be defined because data structure is not something that you can modify every time, right? It should be defined initially that if it requires some changes, it should be very minimum level, right? It should not be drastically changing your entire table and all, right? It should not do that. So you should be defining your list of data structures, data models initially, so that you can think about the user perspective, and then you can start building the UIs, you can start building the application process and everything, right? So if you talk about the company management system, what other data structure or data models comes in your mind? What other things should be there? What are the tables we can have?
So who is requesting? What is requesting? That should have the
Right.
person.
Okay, so let me open an Excel sheet. Okay, so let's say you're saying who is requesting. That means a customer, maybe you're a user, right? Because this application is for in-house application. Let's say you are working for a company and then you want to request for any software, right? So it
Mhm.
asks for you, right? Request is for whom, right? So that's a user. So we can have a employee table like for CMS underscore employee table, right? Right?
Associate, you can yeah, associate or
Yeah.
employee.
I think this is name of the table. So why I've given CMS, because this is a prefix of our application. So in database, if you're going to create, okay, one more thing, right? First now, if you are going to request a new environment from Appian, nowadays they are not providing the database access. Database is still there. You can create a table from the Appian directly there, but you cannot, open the Appian database literally there. Okay, we'll see how do we create a table automatically. Okay, so right now, yeah.
So you're saying that we have this access, this community access. We cannot write or access the database, Appian database?
No, everything, every operation can be done. It just you cannot open the cloud in database tab separately. They are not giving the access for the database to be visible because many databases table has been created and wasted unnecessarily. So it was keeping high volume of data is there, right? So that's why they are not now giving accessing you to database directly. You can create the tables from the Appian. There's a way of creating the tables in the Appian. In the backend, it will get created. It just you cannot see it. Okay, but this environment that if I share with you guys, you will have the database access. Okay, so once we talk about the CMS employee, what are the attributes it can have? Right.
Employee ID,
Name.
name,
Right.
request date.
No, that's something as a transaction, right? This is a CM employee TL, purely employee information, right?
Yes.
We can't have everything in the same table, right? Okay,
An
we
email.
can have
Contact.
POV.
Date of birth is important. No, I don't think so. They don't need
That's
date
fine.
of birth.
If we, in case you want to search for an employee,
Phone
okay,
number.
Okay. What else is important?
Maybe
We can
team
have
name, team name.
okay, team name, right? Okay, we can have a department, right?
Uh,
Okay,
Supervisor.
supervisor. Okay, so for that, we can have a separate table, right? The mapping between, because that's the normalizations come into the picture. We cannot have everything in the same table, otherwise the complexity will be increased, the data volume will be increased, right? So let's say I'm going to have another table called CMS supervisor employee mapping, this table, right, where we can have one primary key, and then we can have employee ID, we can have supervisor ID, right? Like,
Okay.
why? Because a supervisor can have multiple employees, right? So we can have that mapping here. Let's say supervisor ID is 1, employee IDs can be 2, supervisor ID 1, employee ID can be 2. So there could be one to many mapping as well. So we can have this because supervisor has to approve. So we need to have this mapping also, right? What else? Now this is the employee table and then supervisor table is done. So let's say any employee is going to do a request so that a supervisor can assist based on this table. We can retrieve who's a supervisor so that we can send an approval request to them, right? After that, the transaction table, right? I mean, where we need record all the transactions.
We need also master tables.
Master tables, like we can have it like for
For example, list of
department,
software, list of hardware, list of
right?
software.
Okay, right. Okay, so let's say we have CMS,
Inventory.
yeah, inventory. So we can have inventory inv id, that's gonna be integer as the primary key, right? We can have
List inventory name, type,
inventory name, right? That can have a varchar. We can
type.
have type by inv type,
Type means either software or hardware or something.
right? And then we can have
Cost.
cost associated with it.
Hmm.
Let's say I'm gonna have
Subcategory. From
subcategory. What do you?
subcategory. Oh, that means within software, like it's for example, it's Adobe software, it's Appian software, something like that.
Okay. Okay. So we can have that's it. Inventory based on the type, we
Hmm.
can search for it, and then we can also have a subtype, right? Right. So first of all, based on the type, we also have to define okay,
I
user
think
can either go with the subtype, yeah. All right.
subcategory is
Okay. And then we have a transaction, like the transaction ID. Transaction means whenever you do a request, right, that should be get captured somewhere, right? The transaction should be started. Then we can have who has requested it. So I can say created by, right, the user.
yeah.
When they have requested it, so we can say created on. That should be date.
Approved by.
Yeah.
Approved.
So approver can be two level, right? First supervisor can approve, and then second level the IT support can approve, right? So I can
Yes.
say first level approver. It's going to be varchar. First level approved on, right? And then second level approver. Okay. And then we can have inventory ID, which inventory they have requested, right? Once we have this inventory ID, we can have all the information. So what are the costs from this table? We can get that information, right? Otherwise, if you want to also capture it, you can capture it.
The first level
So
approver is INT, employee ID.
no, it's a varchar, right? Who user who has approved it. I mean, yeah, I mean here it's an int we have defined, right? Okay, yeah. So this is also integer. This is also an integer, right? And then inventory ID we have given. So it will, based on this inventory ID, we can capture all the information from here. So we don't have to repeat the information, right? What else we can have? Okay, status. And then what else we can have? That's all right. If we require something, we will add it later. Okay, so these are the table structure that we start. Okay, so what we will do the next, we'll create a table for all this entities that we have decided. Okay, so let me go back to Appian. So this is what I was talking about, that if you try to go to the Appian Cloud is in the current new environment they are going to provide, you will not have this thing. So we have to create this table
How
directly
did
from
you
the
do that?
Appian.
How did you do that? You
I just click on this navigation icon, this nine small squares, and then click on the cloud database.
cloud database.
Do you have that option?
Uh, cloud database, right?
Yeah,
Nope, I don't have.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. They don't give it now. Okay, I'll show you that how to create a table directly from this Appian. Okay, so we need to create a new table. So let's say hit the new, right? And then we need to provide the table name. So first, the table we are going to create a CMS employee. So I'll say CMS underscore employee, right? We will require 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 columns. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So I will add 4 more, and then we hit and go. We say the first one is employee ID. It's going to be auto increment and primary key, right? And then we have first name, last name, DOB. So I'll just say first name. It's gonna be type of varchar. If you define any varchar, you need to provide the length of it. Initially, it can be null, so I'm just checking this null property. We can have last name. We can go with the varchar. Let's say 50 characters long. And then we have DOB, date, and then we can have email, phone number, department, email as a varchar. Let's say 100 characters long. Phone number, can we have plus sign, and then all it may take like 15 characters long. And then we have department. It's gonna be varchar. It's a 25 characters long. And then we have is active. So for any boolean, we need to select tiny int in database. Okay. Once you're done having these things, if you want to keep the script of this database creation, you can say preview SQL. It will generate the statement for you. You can copy the statement and keep it for your future reference. Right? Once you do that, just click on save. It's not like upon creating the table, you cannot have that script. You can also have that script later on by using this export feature. We can have the structure of the data, and then we can have the create statement ready for us. So this is done for the first table. We created one table in the append table. Okay. Now, once we create the table, as I said, that we need to also create a CDT, custom data type associated with the table, so that we can perform read and write operation. To create a CDT, we have seen there are 4 options. We have created the table for one of first option, right? We using the scratch. As I also mentioned the other day, that we will be using the third option a lot, because most of the time we will be creating that CDT using this option. So we can select the third option. So once you select the third option, it says which data source you want to create the table, create a CDT. So right now this is the in-house database data source. It is listed here. In case you are using any third-party database like Oracle DB, SQL Server, or MySQL, or any other things, if you add that to your environment, then that will be also listed here. Now, once you select the database, it says which table or view you want to create. So I will search for the table that I have created. As soon as I type the CMS, you see it is fetching the list of the table that we have. I select this table, and then I say continue. Now you see all the columns that I had in the table, it is listed here. We don't have to create it manually. It just we have to fill name. It's all in small. We have to do the camel casing, right? So you can simply copy paste it because it says it's not camel casing. So Appian suggests it is okay if you go with the lowercase also, that is fine. But Appian suggests please go with the camel casing so that it will be easy. And it's an informal way. All the places are the same. So camel casing is required, right? Right now we haven't created any data store. I'll talk about the data store. How do we create one? Because once we create, we do not even have to create the entities manually. So I'm just unchecking this checkbox for now. The second time we will check this checkbox. Okay, so you say that employee ID, that was a primary key. It is highlighting also that this particular column is a primary key. If you want to put any description, you can do that. That this CDT is connected with CMS employee table. Now you can have same name of your table, and if you do that, then you by looking the CDT itself, you can understand that which table it has been connected, right? So it's always a good practice to keep your CDT name same as your table name. Okay, and even the column names are also the same. So once I do this everything, I say create. Now you see this, all these fields have been created by using the configuration option. We don't have to write it manually, right? Now this is the, if you go here, new, this is being created, CMS employee CDT is being created. Now internally it has the mapping with the table. Let me show you. The other day we created one CDT, right? Now what's the difference between the CDT that we create manually, and then what's the difference with the CDT that is being created by using third option? So the other day, if you remember, we created one CDT manually, right? So this was the CDT that we created manually, right? Let me go to the setting icon and download the XST information. Same way, I'm going to download the XST information for this one, the one that we have created just now. Right? Let me share my screen back. Okay, now you see this. This is the CDT A2T employees that we created the other day with the manual option, and this is the CDT that we have created today with the third option using database table or view. What are the difference? Now in this one, first of all, let's understand the CDT structure. You have a complex type. This complex type is holding all the elements that we have in our CDT, and then annotation is just for the documentation. Like if you put any comment, that will come under the annotations. And then inside the complex type, we have a sequence, and inside a sequence we have each element. So each element represents the one column. So if you remember, the first one that we have only 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. So we have 4 elements here. So each element start with the name label true, and then type of the column that we have created in the CDT. Same way, first name, it's a string type, and we have given that column with by default to 255. Now, if you see the current one, the one that we have created using the third option, it has many other information. Okay, so what are the extra information it has? It has the annotations where it can tell you that which table you have connected with. So that comes with the @table annotations, right? So we call it a JPA annotations. So JPA annotations let you know that in your CDT configuration, what are the table, which table it has been connected, which column it has been connected, and what is the column properties we have. So inside the XST file, you will have all those information. Let's talk about some of the JPA annotations. The first JPA annotation is a table, which will represent this CDT is connected with which table. This is the complex type name, the name of your CDT. Here also we have this information, complex type name, A2A2 employees, but we do not have @table because this CDT is not connected with any table. However, this particular CDT is connected with the table because we chose the third option. Now here you see that @table. So @table denotes that this particular CDT connected with which table. Same way you can see it says @ID. Anyone can guess what's the meaning? What could be the meaning of @ID? This is for this element, employee ID. See, it's starting here and
Primary,
ending here.
primary key.
That is correct. So @ID, JPA annotation denotes that this particular column is a primary key. And what could be the generated value?
I don't know, it starts with 0 or 1. It's integer, right? It's integer.
Right.
It increments each time.
Right.
Auto increment.
That is correct. So this generated value represent that this particular column is also an auto increment property, right? While creating the database, we have set it that, right? Now you see this, these two properties you cannot see for the other columns, right? It's not there because it can have only in the one column. And employee ID is the column where it is a primary and then auto increment. And then we have at the rate of column. So at the rate of column denotes the name of your column in the CDT in the table. What's the nullable property? Is it unique or not? And then column definition. If you see for the other tables, we have only at the rate of column, which is the name of the column and what's the column definition. And whatever size we defined there, the same size it is relating here, right? So got it? The meaning of what's the CDT XST file here and how it's different from the other one, the one that we created manually. Okay. All right. So who can tell me what are the JPA notations we have seen just now?
Table.
Okay.
And ID, primary key ID, and generative.
Okay.
Which gives
Something
at the rate of ID.
And also
at the rate of key something.
No, at the rate of ID, at the rate of generated value, and at the rate of column, and at the rate of table. These four JPA notation we have seen today.
What does that at the rate of column do again?
That's a column definitions. What's the name of your column? What's the size of your column?
Okay.
Right. All right. So let's go back to the Appian. So we have created this CDT and then XST information. Okay, we have seen the XST information. So if you see here, right, the third option and the fourth option that we have while creating the CDT, it's an import an XST file. So if you can write that XST file, you can also by using that one you can create a CDT. Okay.
Do people do that? Do in real life, like write the file and
no, that in real life we use the XST information to update the CDT. I mean, I personally never have created using XST file. Why do we do that, anyone? Because options are there.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So now let's go back to the application. Okay. So we created this CDT. Same way, we can create another tables that we have, right? And we can map it. Now, how we can create a table by using the manual option because we do not have the database option available for you guys. If you choose the new, I mean, if you get the the environment access from the Appian directly, right? You will not have that. Okay. So we'll see that how do we create. Before that, we need to see one more concept of data store. What is a data store? Okay. So what a data store is and how it works and why we need a data store. All right. However, we can see that that table mapping is done inside the XST information. So this CDT has some certain information that which table it is connected in the backend, right? Now, to perform a read and write operation with the table, we need a data store. So we go and we create a new data store. We can simply give the name as CMS DS. DS is a short form data store. I'll say this data store will be connected with in-house database. So one data store can only be connected to one database. Okay. So right now you can see this is the data source. So I'm going to select this by default data source. As I said, if you have many other database connected in your environment, those will be also listed here. So we are going to use in-house database. So its data source is connected here. I'll say create. Once we do that, now it says we need to add the entities. Why this entity is required? Each entity will represent that the CDT or the read and write operation you want to do, that should be from which table. Okay, so I say add entity. The entity name we can have the same as a CDT name. Let's say this is the CDT name that we have created. I can copy this and just paste it here. I'll say CMS employee underscore data store entity, or you can simply say entity, right? And then it says type. Based on the type only, it can understand which table it has to connect. And in the type, we are going to select the CDT that we have created, right? Now you see that how the relationship is being mapped here. Inside the CDT, we have the table information. So that's why we are referring the type here. And then we are saying CMS employee, the name of the entity to be defining here. So I just given underscore entity. It could be same of your CDT name. You don't have to provide underscore entity, but just for understanding, we are creating this. So you see one entity is being created, CMS employee underscore entity, and it is connected with CMS employee. So how, if I ask you how this entity will understand that which table it has to do read and write operation, so what could be the answer? How this is going to understand that which table it has to perform read and write?
It's already mapped, right?
Right, in the CDT that we have type that we have taken here.
Memory ID.
Right. So in the CDT that we have it right here, inside this it has all the information, which table it is being connected, and which attribute it has to write the data. Now once we add this entity, we have to click on the verify. If everything looks okay, if the connection is fine, there is no mismatch, then you will see that entity mapping verified successfully. Save and publish the database store. So once we do that, one entity is being mapped.
So
Okay.
what is the purpose of entity again? Like to read and write
To
from
perform the
the.
read and write operation in the table.
Okay.
Okay. So we created one CDT, one table, one CDT associated with it, and one data store entity for that. Now, if I want to create a rule which can read the data from the table, and if you want to perform some database write, which can write to the same table, we can use this entity for that purpose. Okay. All right. Now we'll see the option that Appian needs to create the table directly to the Appian database without opening the database. Okay. So how it works? Let's say we have the another table, right? The supervisor mapping table, right? Now let's say I would like to create a CDT first of all for that one. So we have to create that CDT manually. So I go to the new and say data type. I'm going to create this from scratch, and I give the name as employee supervisor mapping. Right. So this CDT will be connected with employee supervisor mapping table. Right now we have not have this table in the database, right? We haven't created this table. So I just created this, creating the CDT manually, right? So what are the options we have? We have thought about the ID, employee ID, and the supervisor ID. So I'll go with the new, I'll say ID. This is gonna be number integer, and then we're gonna have ID. Then we're gonna have employee ID. Again, this is gonna be number integer, and then we are gonna create supervisor ID. This is a number integer. Okay. Now ID is gonna be primary key, so I'll just check this checkbox. I'll say it's a primary key. Hit OK. Okay. So this is the CDT that we have. If we download the XST file, definitely we will not have any information of the tables and all, because we haven't created any table as of now. I just created this particular CDT. Now what I can do, I can go to the data store, right? This is the data store, and then I say add entity. I give the name as entity, and then I'm gonna provide the type here. So CMS So you not created yet. CMS input supervisor. Let's create it now. CMS underscore. Yeah, it's coming up now. Yeah? I'll just select this one. I hit OK, save. Right now, you see once you click on verify, it says that if you go to the more info, the data store schema does not match the type mapping, right? Missing table, this mapping, right? It says that you have added the entity, but we do not have any table. So what we can do, we can select this option, create the tables manually. Okay, and if you want to have the script, you can have the scripts from here and say verify again. Okay. Just a second.
So it's create table automatically, no?
Yeah, it should create the table automatically and with this database script, but it is throwing me some issue. Oh, sorry. That's correct. Yeah, I've taken the wrong option. So I'll say save and publish. So once we do that, now it says entity mapping verified. This is a way you can create the table and you can create the entities, but you will not be able to open the database. Now let me show you what exactly table it has created. CMS. It will create a table all in camel small letter. Okay, it doesn't follow these things. If you create a table from the Appian database manually, I mean automatically, you will have the table name something like this. If you select open this table, go to the structure, you have ID, employee ID, and supervisor ID. Okay, so this is the option that you have, that you cannot see the database, but still you can create the table and you can create the entities, so you can perform the read and write operation. Okay, so don't worry that if you see that I don't have a table creation option, you can do this from directly from the Appian. Got it?
Okay.
Now we have this CT also created, we have this data store, and then we have all this. Two table is being created, two CT is being created, and then two data store entity is also being created. Okay. So likewise,
Okay.
we need to
Like
create.
if we want to update the table, like how can we do it?
I'm sorry, what is that?
Like just now we have created the table inside the Appian, right?
Right.
So if we want to update the table, like if we want to add some another column or something, how do we do that?
Okay. Now you can do, then you have to add the update the CDT. Let's say if you want to add any other column, right? Let's say I'm gonna say is active. Okay, I'm gonna say is active. This is a field I would like to add. I say the save changes. It says that the following data store table structure will be updated to match the new data store type definition, right? Because if you see here, this automatically update database schema checkbox is checked, right? Once I click save the data, save data type.
No, the main one, the before one, you directly created the table instead of the data type, right?
Right.
So how do you update this one? No, the other one, CMS employee.
See,
Yeah.
the other one you can also do it from the CT directly, right? Let me show you. Let's say, or you can with the XST file, you can do that. Okay, let me show you. So this is clear, right? How do we do that? You
Mhm.
simply add it. It will give you the option that do you want to automatically update the database data store, because we need to check this checkbox, automatically update the database schema. So once we verify, it will save it. You see that column is being get created here is active. Now for the one that we have, how do we do that? So we go and we download this XST file, right? We have already downloaded this XST file. Let me show you that XST file now again. Right, this was the XST file. Now let's say I would like to add one more column. Tell me anything, any property of a column. we have, let's say I would like to add middle name. Okay, so I simply copy this element, this SHT element, and paste after this first name element, right? I'll just change it to the middle name. Right. Here also we can say middle name, but we do not have this column in my table, right? So what we can do, either we can go with the same option. What it will do, it will create that column name all in small letter. So what do we follow? General terms, we follow first, what we do is that we add a column in the database, right? So we go to the CMS employee and go to the structure and then say add one column, and after, let's say first name, hit go, give the name, middle name as a varchar, and then enable, and then say length is 50. Save this one. Once we save this thing, if you go to the structure, you see this column is being created. Now if I go and update my XST file with the same, so I created this element, one more element as a middle name, right? Everything is same. I just save this XST file. Now we'll see how do we use this XST file. We go to the Appian and click on this CMS employee, or you can open it. Once we open this CMS employee, in the setting icon it says create new version from XST, right? And then we say upload. Okay, so I click on this upload, and I will, from the downloads, I will select the same XST file. Okay, so once we upload the same XST file, it says data source verification is passed because we have created the table already. So create new version. Once we do that, the middle name will get added here. If you would like to verify it, just go and open the data store and click on the verify. It says clearly. Okay. So why this is a long process, but why people go with this? Because it allows you to give you the database name accordingly, like camel kissing or something, if you follow the all in capital. So many companies says that, I don't want to create a tables with the automatic option, because that does everything in the small case, right? Just like the way if you see this one, same as other table that Appian has created, it's everything in small. The table name is in small, the column names are all are in small. You can't control this, right? So that's the option that user follow. Also, this is only many companies follow their own database, so that's why they want to be proper format all the places. Okay, is that clear? How do we create a CDT? How do we create a table automatically? How do we update the tables? What's a data store? We talk about a lot today.
Mhm.
Can you just quickly show once, like from where you imported the XST?
So I just open this CDT, click on the CDT, go to the setting icon, and click on the create new version from the XST and click on upload.
Okay.
It will open the directory from where you can upload your file.
And then you publish data store.
We don't have to. I just show you that it's verified.
Okay.
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 All right. Let it be
Yeah.
today till here. I know. Otherwise, it will be too much. So practice this. Come up with the questions so we can continue. Okay. We have two more tables to be created, two more data store, and then we can continue with the UI designing.
Okay.
We also have to put some dummy data to the inventory table so that we can see those options there, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Then. Any questions before we wrap up?
Are we also going to use different type of functions expression in like index or something
Obviously,
function?
definitely we are going to use that. All right then. Thank you.